Alright, and we're live. Welcome guys to another live stream. And yeah, so I got pretty much everything working now that I wanted to for the map editor. So it now renders using libgdx. Um, and yeah, basically a few other things that are nice as well. Like we have support for a game camera and things like that. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to come into the stream before showing it off because, you know, it's pretty interesting. And if no one's going to see it, except for in the DVR version, then that kind of sucks. I'll tweet out in the meantime. I already wrote the tweet, so I just have to send it. And there you go in Discord as well. I feel like I might be missing something. Alright, no, it looks good. Alright, I'll go into it now. First, I just wanted to kind of show you guys something. It's pretty funny. I had a good laugh with it. Just to kind of give you guys an idea just how long ago I started working on the map editor. I've actually been working on this map editor for longer than I've been working on Archipelo, but I mean like the new Archipelo. So you guys maybe remember that I restarted Archipelo about like over a year and a half ago, probably something like 20 months ago, something like that. It was in November 2015. I restarted Archipelo because I just wasn't happy with it. And I started working on this map editor in summer 2015, so that was even months before that. I think it was in June. So yeah, I've gained a lot of programming experience since then, so I wanted to show you guys something that's kind of funny. For expert Java developers, this is going to be a bit funny, but basically when I first started learning about, because I was self-taught programming, so I started learning about reference versus value types, and I started getting really scared about trying to duplicate variables. But if you're like if you're just like even a intermediate Java developer, you should know that strings are immutable. So if you set a string variable somewhere else, it's not keeping it as a reference, it's setting the value, right? Same for integers and any primitive. So basically, here I was trying to copy all the variables, and when I was setting the name of the map, yeah, as you can see here, I was creating a new string with that one, so that my idea was that it would clone the variable and it would copy the value instead of the reference. So yeah, obviously you don't need to do that. Maybe there are some languages you do, but string I kind of understand because you need to know it's immutable. But for integers and booleans and all that kind of stuff, it copies automatically. It always passes by value. And I was actually doing that here too. I just removed it because I'm not doing that stuff anymore. It was integers for climate and type. If you guys have been there since the beginning of the Archipelo's development, in the old version there was also map climates, and those were integers, and the way I was copying those in, I would say like climate is equal to new integer. I was using the integer object, then map.get climate, something like this. So I was duplicating integers that way, but you don't need to do that. That's kind of ridiculous. So I thought that might be a good laugh. So yeah, I've been working on this map editor for a long time, and a lot of the code is kind of old, a bit buggy, badly designed. But anyways, I got some stuff working, so I'll show you guys that now. Okay, so now you can see it's all like some dark gray color here, and basically everywhere where it's dark gray, this is a libgdx canvas. So it's actually libgdx code running to render this. So here I'll start up a new map. So you can see here this is the map. So basically it's all null tiles to start out, and you can fill it up and whatever. That's another thing I want to fix eventually, is when you go too fast, there's spaces between them. I want to make it so that it automatically fills in those spaces. But yeah, so I did that, and the advantage of that is I can use a camera now. So with the camera I can basically, whoops, oh sorry about that, it's my mouse glitching up again. With the camera I can basically have infinite space in all directions. So that's how we're going to be using the chunk system, so this is going to be really nice for that. Also I added in a zoom in zoom out feature, so you can zoom out. I might even make it so you can zoom out more than that, although it looks a bit weird. It's still useful. And also you can zoom in, and I made it so that the zoom in, you zoom in towards the cursor, which is really useful, and you can zoom in all the way up to here, and it all works too, which is really nice. I think it was I should have probably done this from the beginning. Actually, if I restarted this application, which I won't at this point, but I would have probably used LibGDX for the entire thing, and just everything on the side I would use Scene2D. But anyways, so that works, and it was nice and easy to program. I just had a few little bugs from the last live stream, like things relating to loading in assets and stuff like that. But overall I'm pretty happy with this. I can also scroll through the different tile types on the side, and you can add elements. So yeah, so today what we're going to add, I'll kind of show you guys my idea with this map editor. Whoops. So the idea I kind of have is to make it so that when you're editing the map, you start out with one chunk in the middle, and then you can expand into different chunks as you go. Here, I'll take a screenshot of this. Okay, so this is the map editor, and just say there's, you know, oops, that's a bit big. So you can have another chunk here, another chunk here. So basically each chunk adjacent to a chunk that's already claimed, there's going to be like a button inside of it. So it'd be like, so in the editor, I would be able to click the button, and this chunk would be added to the map. And you know, it'll generate all those invalid tiles like we saw before, you know, the tiles that are red with a, you know, like a line through them. But I'll also make it so that we can automatically generate things depending on the seed of the map. So yeah, that would be good too. So basically you would click the button to claim the chunk, and it would become part of the map, and then all the adjacent chunks to that one as well will become claimable, and they'll get buttons generated on them as well. So that's kind of my idea with it. So yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. So of course we're gonna have to design the chunk system, and later on implement it in Archipelo, not just on the client but the server as well, because the server is going to have to send the chunks to the clients once they're close to them. Also, I'm not 100% set on using, see here, paint actually kind of sucks because it zooms into the corner here, not where your cursor is. So already we're better than paint. Also, I'm not 100% set on having chunks being 50 by 50, but I think I'll just stick with that. It looks kind of good, I think. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. I think that's a pretty decent size for map. Like, here, hold on a second. Oh yeah, that's right. I made it so you can't drag the bucket. I'm gonna put that back because it's annoying. Okay, so let's just pretend we're making like a simple map here. Let's see if it's a decent size. I've run some calculations as well because I want to make it so that hold on a second, I'll just do this. Okay, see, whoops. Yeah, there's an undo and redo feature that's working now too. Okay, so there's like some space for a few little houses and a few little things. So 50 by 50 is really not too bad. I think it's good. I'm going to go over those calculations with you guys quick. So the way I was thinking of doing it would be that the client would always have 9 chunks loaded around it at a certain given time. Here, so I'll just draw that quick. Yeah, just do it like this. I had no idea what I was doing, honestly, but that worked out pretty well. I think that's the least amount of squares I could have used for that. So basically, just say the player is located like here. So on the client's end, just say their screen is like this. I don't know why I didn't use a square for that. Here, hold on. So basically, I want to make it so that even if the person is going on like is playing the game on like a 4K screen or even like maybe an 8K, just to be a bit, you know, to think ahead a little bit. I want it to be so that the screen doesn't end up being outside of the 9 chunk radius that they have loaded up. But I want it to be, you know, a static number of chunks. I don't want the client to be able to say, hey, my screen is 8K, so can you give me this many chunks? I want it to be the same all across the board. It's basically just for cheating prevention. So I don't want people to be able to say like, hey, I have a 24K screen, you know, can you send me all the data for the entire map so I can just see everything that's going on? So I don't want that to happen. So I'm thinking I should make it so that these 9 chunks, the width and height are at least greater than like an 8K display. So essentially the calculation for that is, here I'll show you guys quickly here. There's a units per pixel scale. So basically in Archipelo, when the game is rendered, each pixel takes each pixel in the game world's art takes 3 screen pixels. So right off the bat, we're saving like 3 times the amount of pixels. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but okay, so let's do some calculations. So if we have, oh, I never used this calculator before. So if the chunk's 50 by 50, so 50 tiles times 16, because each tile is, each tile is 16 pixels. See, my mouse is glitching again. I double clicked there by accident. 50 times 16, 800. So each chunk would be 800 by 800 pixels in the game world though. So then we would times 3 because there's 3 chunks per width and height, so times 3. Okay. So this is the resolution we support if the game was 1 pixel per 1 pixel for the game world, but it's 3 pixels, so we can times 3 again, and we get 7200. So what is the resolution for a 4K screen? Or an 8K screen? 8K screen resolution. Oh, it's just under. Okay, what if you do like 56? Let's try that. 56 times 16 times 3. Or maybe you should probably just do 64 just because it looks cooler for computer science perspective. 56. Nah, I kind of like the number 56. I think it's cool. What if we did the inverse? What if we took... I doubt it's easily divisible, but let's just try it. Divided by 3. Divided by 3. Divided by 16. No. Oh, I did times 16 by accident. Whoops. So what is it again? 7680 divided by 3. Divided by 3. Divided by 16. So if we did 54 pixels, so times 16 times 3 times 3. Yeah, this works. This just barely makes it. I think that would be good like that. So basically the game would support 8K monitors right off the bat, and if we have to in the future we can upgrade it, but even then at that point, if someone's using an 8K monitor to play Archipelo, which is like a pixel game, then that's a little overkill, I think. So we'll just leave it at that, because that's a lot of tiles too. Like if you think about it, it's 54 times 54 times 9. That's how many tiles are sent. And each tile, I would say on average, is probably like 8 characters. So that's 8 bytes per tile of data to send across the network. So it adds up, but it's not going to send all of them at once. At one time, it's going to send probably 3 chunks. Anyway, so that's some basic calculations. So we're going to make the chunk size 54. Initially, my idea was actually to do it at 100, but I think it makes more sense this way. There are advantages, though, to having bigger chunk sizes. Like, for example, bigger chunk sizes means that there's more chance that players will be in the same chunks, and therefore we wouldn't have to generate as many world snapshots, because we could just send the same world snapshot to all the players that are in the same chunk. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that, and welcome new viewers. I don't know if at the beginning of the stream it kind of glitched out a little bit with the whole what's it called, Twitch alerts. It did that thing again this morning, and I think it may have continued into the stream, where it announced all the new subscribers since the last live stream. So yeah, let's get into this now. Okay, so let's clean up a little bit here. Okay, so let's create a chunk class. I'll put in the source shared. We'll create a chunk data class, so this is what's actually going to be stored and sent over the network. Also what's going to be saved in the files. So the basic data we're going to need for this would be an X and Y of where the chunk is located in the map. So this would not be a pixel X and Y, but this would be a chunk X and Y. And I think the only other thing that would be needed for this would be the actual data. So this would be a string array. Tiles is equal to new Okay, so we need one for the tiles, we need one for the elements. I'm just going to look at the map data quick just to see if I'm missing something. Okay, so I can just remove the type in climate. So I think I misspelled climate there. Isn't there an E at the end of climate? Oh, there's some bugs. Sorry about this. I just want to fix these quick before I forget. Map loader. Alright. Okay, so natural lighting, blah blah blah, tile data, entities. I'm thinking entities, I'm going to keep them in the map. Makes more sense to do it that way, I think. And just comment that out. Okay, so that's basically all we need for a chunk. Just the X and Y of where it's located within the map, the tile data, and the element data. Now for the map data, we're going to have to change it, so of course it doesn't have the tiles and elements anymore. But it will have some other data. It's going to have some data to say which chunks it has that are loaded on the map, because it's not going to be like a simple square, you know. It's not going to be like this map is 2 chunks wide and 3 chunks high. It's going to be this map has a chunk here, has one here, one down there, you know, or something like that, and another one here. So it's going to be irregularly shaped. Here, I can close this now, actually. So yeah, that's going to have to go soon. Okay, and let's actually make a chunk variable now. You can close this server here. Not a chunk variable, chunk class. We'll also put in the size here. Or no, we can just use the chunk data one. Okay, so public chunk. Oh, by the way, if you're not too sure, if you don't remember seeing those episodes, the elements are the things like the trees and the houses and stuff like that. I just called them that. I'm not really happy with that name, but I mean, whatever. Actually, we should just pass a chunk data variable here. Gotta get some getters and setters. We don't need to get the whatchamacallit there, the elements and stuff. We'll just create a draw method. And it's just going to need a sprite batch because it's going to know where to draw depending on its X and Y. So basically to get the, here, let's create some extra getters and setters here. So public float get pixel X, we'll call it. So that would be X times chunk data dot size. So this will basically be the X and Y location of the actual rendering pixels for these chunks. And then the rendering of this won't be too difficult. So I have a for loop for int r for row is equal to tiles.length minus 1, r is greater than or equal to 0, r minus minus. So when rendering these things, we need to render from top to bottom. For tiles, it doesn't matter because the tiles don't overlap, but we'll just keep some consistency. But for the elements, it does matter because some elements are tall, you know, and they overlap the ones that were rendered before them. So that matters. And for the columns, we render from left to right, so we start at 0. Okay, let's load up the map here on the side so we can see how we did all the rendering. Now we're gonna have to change quite a few things actually with this. Okay, here, let's split this off into 2 different methods. We should also pass in the asset manager to it. So that has access to the assets. So if tiles RC is not equal to null, render the tile if it's null. Oh right, we have this thing here. Let's just copy this code here, why not? It's basically the same thing. So this becomes RC, C, C, R, and R. Yep, and then we have to get this here. Okay, so that renders the tiles, and the elements here. By the way, also you may have noticed that I'm actually inverting this because we're rendering from top to bottom. So for each row, and then we're rendering each column within the row. So that actually inverts the X and Y. So C is for columns actually, which represents the X-axis, and R is for the Y. So it's a little bit confusing at first when you're doing tile rendering for the first time, but you get used to it after rewriting a tile render over and over again like I have. Oh yes, and then there's the hover elements that we need to draw. Okay. This is a bit tricky actually. I'm not going to bother with this for now. I want to keep it as simple as possible. Basically what this is, here, I'll show you guys real quick. Oh, something crashed. World render.resize. Is that null pointer exception? How? Somehow I actually accidentally deleted the camera. Okay. Oh, wait a second. I deleted the entire create method. Oh boy. Okay, there you go. It's the stupid mouse glitching out. That's what happened. So see if you have a tile selected. See, it renders over it. So just say we filled the entire map with water. You can see it overrides the rendering of that tile. So this is easy if you know all the tiles start from 0, 0 and render up. But we're gonna have to figure out which chunk it's located in and which tile within that chunk to do this. We'll do that later. Yeah, but that's basically it. So let's put a to-do here. Okay, so what else is going to be required? I think if we start moving forward now, we're going to have to start deleting other code, so the map editor won't work for a little while until we're done with this pretty much. So let's do that. So the chunks are going to be stored in array lists. So private array list chunks. No, hold on a sec, I was just thinking about something. Okay. So let's just start just getting rid of things now. So we don't need a width and height variable anymore. We can get rid of all the elements and the tiles and all that stuff. because we don't need that anymore. I'm going to keep this here, just commented, because I'm going to need that later on. So basically it's going to be for chunk in chunks, chunk dot draw tiles. Actually, hold on a sec. This chunk rendering code is not good. So it'd be like this, plus get pixel x and we're gonna have to convert it to integer. Okay, that's annoying. Okay. Now, the thing you may be wondering with this is that this is going to have to be in rendering order. So the chunks array is going to have to be in the proper order of rendering. So top left to bottom right. So every time we add in a new chunk, we're going to have to either add it in its right place and move the other ones up, or we could just simply resort the array. Since it's just going to be like a one-time thing every time you create a chunk, I'm not totally against resorting the array. It'll be just much faster to just think the logic through that. But it could be fun to just find its place. Use like some kind of binary search or something like that. But it might be easier just to sort it. Okay, so now we change this here. Oops. And I'll comment this. Okay, and then the grid. Yeah, we can render the grid in here. So we would do we're gonna have to do some optimizations as well later on, but I won't deal with that just now. Okay. And there's still a ton of other errors, of course. Okay, so there's this method that loads the map from the file. Oh, excuse me. So we're going to have to change this up a little bit so it loads the chunks. So let's put a to-do there. Load chunks from file. And of course there's the opposite, which is the save. Save chunks to file. Did I initialize the chunks? Yeah. Okay, now the get width and the get height. I'm going to do a to-do on this. Because basically we're going to have to yeah, I'll do that after. We'll figure out everything we need to do exactly and then handle everything one thing at a time. Calculate tile width of map based chunk range. And same thing here. Because the way this is going to work is we're going to have to look at the chunk that's the farthest to the left and the one that's farthest to the right. And we're going to have to see how many chunks wide there is at its max. And then based on that, we will, you know, see how many chunks wide it is. And then multiply that by the chunk size, which is 54. And same for the height, basically. It's just from top to bottom. Resize. We're not going to have resize anymore, so let's just get rid of that. Get tiles, set tiles, all this not needed anymore. Element render buffer. Oh yes, this. Don't think we'll need that anymore. Not sure though, but I'll just get rid of it. Okay, and the render. So yeah, this uses the get width and height. So in the map, we're going to have to create a few methods to do a few little things here. So let's do that. So we'll have a set tile method. We should have a get tile one as well. So we have tile X, tile Y, and we also have the data of what the tile is. We'll have get tile. So these are basically going to be helper methods. It's going to make other things easier. I need to change this. Okay. So this is going to go through the chunks. So chunk. Okay, I'm starting to have a bit of an idea of what actually might be a better way to handle this whole chunk thing. A more efficient way. We wouldn't have to do sorting. Okay, so it's actually going to be an embedded array list. Okay, so array list, what do I have? So chunks dot. Yeah, okay. Sorry about this. There's a lot of things to think about in this. Okay, so the chunks array list is actually going to be an array list of array lists. So the first array list is going to be the rows, and then the second is going to be the columns. So it's basically like a 2D array list, if that makes sense. We could use just a regular array, but then we would have to specify like, no, I don't want to do that. No, because we'll have negative values and stuff. So yeah, let's not do that. Okay, so we're gonna have to change these things a little bit here. Chunk. Okay. So that's how that's going to change. For each chunk in each chunk. So this is the same kind of deal here. Wow, that's kind of nuts, like a 4 times loop. Now what if no, we're good. Okay, so when I add in a new chunk, I'm going to have to do a binary search to find its location to place it in. So instead of resorting, I think this is a better solution, although it's it's gonna be pretty complicated, I think. Is this even really a good solution? Hold on a second. Because I'm still going to have to search for this x and y. Yeah, it's more efficient, that's for sure. Okay, so... Oh no, it's not even more efficient. Let's just undo it all. Okay. So if chunk dot get x is equal to chunk x and chunk get y is equal to chunk y, we can return here chunk at location not found don't do anything. Okay. So we got that. Now we have to find the x and y of the tile within the chunk. Chunk, like with an x, is equal to... You're going to use a modulus for this. Okay, and now in the chunk we're going to have a set method here, so set let's just give access to the tiles and the elements. Get tiles and get elements. Why does it say it's not used? It is used. Okay, there you go. So now we do chunk dot get tiles at y within chunk, x within chunk. We'll set that to tile ID. Okay, there you go. And get tile is very similar, although not quite. Here we need to return null, and here we return this value. Oh yeah, of course you need to make a return type string. Okay. And the set is very similar, so we have it to element ID, get elements. I think that's it, right? Looks good. And we'll get this one here. I'm going to add a bit of an efficiency here. So I'm going to say if chunk.get x is greater than chunk x. Here, I should do the other way now. If chunk y is greater than dot get y, I should say. Greater than chunk y, and that, and here we can return. Because basically, since we're going to be sorting the chunk list from top left to bottom right, or, well, not really. Yeah, since we're going to be sorting this this list, we can basically assume that if we've passed the chunk X and chunk Y that we're looking for, then it just doesn't exist, because everything past that point is going to be greater. So there's absolutely no way it's going to be equal to that. Oh, hey Cole, how's it going? I don't need to remember it. Well, I mean, I guess some stuff I remember, but it's mostly stuff I've designed, so the only things I really need to remember are, you know, like keywords like int or for, and how you structure these things. But overall, I don't need to remember much. Oh, this needs to be null, and this also null. Okay, what else do we need here? The width and height. I guess we can do this now. So the width and height is almost the exact same calculation, I'm thinking. So basically we need to find the lowest x and the highest x, and then we basically just subtract from there. So int lowest x is equal to get 0 get x. So when you're doing these loops to calculate or to find the lowest or greatest value, it's best not to set it to 0 or something or whatever. You set it to the value of the first one. So in the map, we're guaranteed to have at least one chunk. So we can just assume that from right off the bat. Or maybe we... I don't know, there's a lot of questions with this, but anyways, so for chunk in chunks, so we're going to loop through each chunk. If we don't need the x here, it'd be highest x. So if chunk dot get x is less than lowest x, lowest x is equal to chunk dot get x, and we also need to check if chunk dot get x is greater than highest x. So we found something even higher than the one that we currently have. Then we set the highest one to the new one that we found. It's like a really tiny bug on my screen. Super small, holy crap. Not height is x, there you go. And then now we can return, it would be like this, I'm pretty sure. Like just say we have our farthest chunk is at 2 and our lowest one is at -1, then the distance should be 3. So it'd be 2 minus -1, so that's 3. So yeah, that's it. And let's just copy paste this for the height. It's not a computer bug though, at least that. And that's it. So let's document this a little bit. I haven't been documenting this that much. I should though. So let's write costly. Uses a loop to find values. Find height. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I think bugs have made me have to stop the stream quite a few times now. Just because I don't feel like doing bug fixes on stream. It's kind of boring for people to watch, and I don't know. I just like figuring those things out on my own. So that's done. What else do we have left on the to-do list? Oh right, the load and save from file. We won't do that just now. Let's figure this stuff out a little bit first. So tile X. Oh, actually we're doing it wrong here. This map get width and get height is for tile width and tile height, so we need to change that to maybe I should just make it so that the width and height get recalculated when new tiles are added. That would be much more efficient. Yeah, let's do that. So chunk data.size. I've only been live streaming for an hour. It feels like it's been much longer than that. Okay, so let's create that. So protected void recalculate width. Let's just say sizes like that. Jeez, it scared me. Hey, welcome new subscriber. The noise of you subscribing scared me. Sorry, I couldn't see your name. My OBS window isn't very big right now. But welcome to the channel. Okay, so we need to create these width and height variables now. It was pretty loud, eh? I should probably turn that down so it doesn't scare me. Yeah, that's true. I wish there was a like a small little noise whenever someone does a chat message. Maybe I can do that. It'd be nice so I can actually hear when people are sending messages. Okay, so when we load in a new map, we should call recalculate sizes, so it recalculates the size. And for this, we'll do width is equal to 0, height is equal to 0. Calculates. All right, world render. So we don't need to check if it's out of bounds anymore. Okay, I'm gonna add one more thing now. I can remove this now. You don't need to keep documentation because it's fairly explanatory. I want to add in the min and max for the tile locations. So public int get min tile x. So get max tile x, get min tile y, get max tile y. So basically this is just going to be for letting for calculations where we need to know what the minimum possible tile x location would be and the maximum possible, and same for y as well. So this will be useful, we will see in a minute. So see, we have here, we're checking to make sure that it's within range, right? So we're checking to make sure that the tile x and y are not greater than or equal to the width and height. We're making sure that it's at least 0. But we don't need to, well, we need to do this still, but not exactly the same. So it'd be editor.getMax.get max tile x, because it's not necessarily going to be the width of the map that's the maximum, right? Because it can, the width of the map could be like 5, but that could mean that there's 2 tiles that are in the negative and 3 that are in the positive. So really, the tile x has to be less than 3, not less than 5. So it's just a little bit more accurate this way. Also, there's a bug here too. I didn't even notice. Tile y is greater than or equal to editor.map.getWidth. It should have been height. But it's okay now. We're removing this anyways. .get max tile y, and this is equal to editor.get map.get min tile x, and this will be editor.get map.get max no min tile y. This we won't need anymore. Okay. Editor.get tile list.set selected value. Oh, I think I'm getting a call. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So yeah, we need to change these methods a little bit here. Still some errors. Okay. So editor.getMap.get tiles. Okay, so this would change. I would be doing .set tile, tile X, tile Y, and the tile ID is this. Okay, getting there. I think this might be the only. These might be the only bugs. Hopefully, well, not bugs, but I mean just errors. Get element. Right, and then we need to change this here so that this is editor.getMap.getMaxTileY .get and let's tile X, and this is map. Editor.getMap.getMin tile X. Editor.getMap.get min tile Y, and let's just get rid of all that. Oh right, I want to add back in support for the bucket tool being able to be used on when you drag the mouse, so I'm going to change that quickly after. So get tiles. Okay, so this is setting it. So we do .set tile. Oh, see, there's actually some bugs here too. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. Okay, what I was talking about was In here with the bucket fill, I'm inverting the X and Y, but I don't need to do that anymore. Do I use it anywhere else? Yeah, here. Okay, that should be good. Let's add in the bucket fill back to the touch dragged. So this is for the element layer. And we can remove this. And remove that. Okay. Oh, okay, there's a bunch of more errors here. So it's the new map menu, element map change. Okay, yeah, so it's a bunch of the stuff with the changes. Oh boy, yeah, this is actually going to be yep, there's a lot of stuff to change with this whole chunk system. I'm actually kind of not excited to get into it for Archipelo as well, because this is a lot. This is going to take weeks, I think, just for this thing, let alone the rest of the update. See, here you go again with my when I was scared of passing by reference instead of passing by value. So oh, this thing is, yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to change a lot of these things. What this is basically, it's used for when to undo and to redo changes to a map. So basically what it's doing is it's copying the map before I edit it. So when a person clicks on the screen to edit something, it creates a copy of it. And so yeah, it creates a copy, so then if I need to undo, I can just put back the copy of what it looked like before it was edited. But this is going to be a little bit more complicated now with the chunk system. Yeah, so let's create a new constructor here for the chunk, and it's going to be a clone constructor. So this dot x is equal to chunk to copy dot x. This dot y is equal to chunk to copy dot y. Now I can't just simply copy the tiles array. I'm going to have to do loops for that. So this dot tiles is equal to new string chunk data dot size chunk data dot size, and then I'll have to copy them. So it'll be int r is equal to 0, r is less than chunk data dot size, r plus plus, and then have an embedded one for the columns. C++. And then in here we'll do this dot tiles at rc is equal to chunk to copy dot tiles at rc. And it's basically the same for the elements. All right, cool. Okay, so in the map we're gonna have to create a get chunks method. So get chunks for chunk in map.getChunks chunks.add new chunk. Wow, that's a lot of chunk. Okay, and so now we need to do the redo thing. So basically whenever we undo, we need to save the redo chunks. Yeah, there should be an array list of chunks as well. So whenever we undo, before we undo, we need to save the data of what the map currently looks like, so that if we need to redo, which is like an undo of an undo, then we can put back those chunks. And we also need a set chunks method here. So what does this do here? New element map. Okay, this is basically I should copy this. Just need to see exactly what it's doing. So this is copying, okay, it's copying the basic chunks one. All right, good. For chunk in chunks, new chunks dot add new chunk. Basically the same thing as before. New chunks. Dot set chunks. And this essentially does the same thing, except it uses the redo map. So it'll be redo chunks. Okay. That looks good. Resize change. We do not need this anymore. Delete. Tile map change. This is... Let's rename this. We'll call it the map change. Because this is storing all the chunks, right? So rename compilation unit to map change, name this to map change, and we're going to delete the tile change one. So it might not be as memory efficient, but I mean, I think it's okay. Because it's, every time you edit a tile, it used to just save the tile map so that you can, when you undo, it would reset the tiles only and not the elements, but now it's going to end up doing both. So it's not as memory efficient, but I mean, at this point, the amount of undo and redo operations you'll have and the amount of memory it'll take, it's really not that bad. It's probably only going to account for maybe a few dozen megabytes, so I shouldn't worry too much about that. Map settings editor. Okay, so let's get rid of these width and height spinners, because we don't want the width and height to be set anymore. Settings change. Is there really a point of having a settings change? You're just changing the name, the music, stuff like that. There's really no point. Let's just delete that. It's a waste of time. Plus, if you end up undoing it, you're not going to know what you undid, and it'll just cause more troubles than it needs. So can delete all this now. Keep that nice and clean. Main editor. What is this? Oh, this resets the map. Going to delete these things right now. Those are basically just things for, you may remember there was a map menu, and if you clicked on it, there was three things. There was the edit, generate, and reset. Those things aren't going to be there anymore, the generate and reset, because those things are going to be chunk specific now. So I'm going to have a chunk tool which will allow you to generate things in the chunk, so you can either generate a map over it, you know, like islands, or you can eventually probably generate dungeons, or just, you know, generate blank space to reset it, or just delete the chunk over completely. So yeah, that's the whole point of it. And new map menu. Some things are going to change in here as well, so we're not going to have the width and height in here anymore. We can get rid of this. The map takes width and height in the constructor, but we're not going to do that anymore. So what is there in here anymore now? There's the natural lighting setting. There's the music, display name, and name. So that's all that there is left for the map when you're creating a new one for settings. Let's put in the natural lighting variable into the constructor for the map. So what is it again? It was check box or whatever. So yes, no, dot selected. Okay, so we're gonna have to change this constructor a little bit. And this changes to Boolean natural lighting. Okay, okay, we're gonna have to do this in the load and save as well. And that's it, no more errors. Oh, hello, sorry I didn't see your message. How's it going? So what is there left to do exactly? So a lot of stuff is working, so we need to add in the loading the chunks from the file and also saving it to the file. So I'm going to figure that out. Yeah, the hovering over. Yeah, we can figure this out now. For the hover thing. For the map tile? Okay. So basically what we do is we do if R is equal to hover tile Y and C is equal to hover tile X. And we need to put a loop condition here. So if hover tile is not equal to null, then we basically just have to render it. So we just do wait, I have to go here. Okay, so it's the ID. Oh no, it's a it's an actual map tile value. Let's make it pass in the ID here. So then we'll do hover tile ID. Or no. It was good before. And then now we do asset manager dot draw tile by ID at the sprite batch. We do this calculation here for the X, this one for the Y, and the ID is hover tile C# master race. Yeah, C# is a good language. I like C#. I use it a lot in college, and I think it's a good language. Although I find there's a lot of features that kind of bring it away from just the raw object-oriented approach to programming. I think Java is a really nice language for just, you know, object-oriented, and it's focused on one thing. But I think both languages are just as good as each other. They're different. Well, Monogame definitely supports more platforms, which I think is cool. I was actually considering switching over to Monogame instead of libgdx last winter, but the main reasons I decided not to was just because it seemed like, I don't know, it seems like Monogame isn't as supported anymore. It seems like, I don't know, maybe that's just from the research I got, but it doesn't seem super easy to learn at first, and it would have been a big transition. But maybe if I restarted from the start, I would have used Mono. But I'm happy with libgdx though. But they're so similar though. Like, libgdx was heavily inspired off XNA, which is basically where Monogame comes from. What was I doing now? Oh yes, this. Okay, and then we'll have how is the stream going, by the way? Seems better than the other day, but it's still pretty bad. Should maybe lower my bitrate even more than that. But I don't know. I don't want it to be too bad quality, you know? My internet's really bad here. Well, it's okay. It's good enough for just regular stuff, but for streaming, it's not ideal. Okay, so we're basically doing the same calculations as before for the because you get a tile X and a tile Y, and you convert that into a chunk X and chunk Y, and then you get the X and Y within the chunk of where it's supposed to be. libgdx I mean seems fine on mobile. Well, that was another thing too that I was seeing with monogame, is that it was really not efficient for mobile and well, basically iOS and Android. People were saying there's a lot of lag issues, and I want to try to make it as efficient as possible on those platforms, especially Android. And using Java on Android is, well, Android is designed for Java. I mean, you can use C++ as well, or you can use, you can use monogame and stuff like that, but it has to convert the code, and it's just not as efficient. libgdx, it just uses Java, which uses a VM, which is well optimized. Well, actually, Mono uses C# uses a VM, I think, of some sorts, but it's different. It's pretty slow on those platforms. That's why you don't see so many games using monogame on the mobile devices, at least not from what I've seen. Oh, the stream is fine on mobile. Yeah, okay, good. Sorry, I went on a tangent there, even though it has nothing to do with what you meant. That's good, though. Sorry, I'm being a little quiet now. Okay, so this is basically going to, when you hover over a specific tile, it's going to render over it the tile that you have currently selected to edit with. So you can kind of see what it would look like if you place it in there. Going to change one little thing. So basically what it's doing now is it's rendering over what was already rendered. But that's not exactly what I want to do. So here, I'll just figure that out. I wanted to render in place of it, so So basically it's going to check if there's a hover element, and this is the location for it, then draw the hover element. But if there isn't, or it's not the location, then just draw the tile that's supposed to be there. So it's going to basically, before what it was doing is it would show the tile or the element, you know, where it would be. But if it was overwriting something, if you actually placed it, it wouldn't tell you. It would just still show it there. So this is just a bit better design. So we need another if statement here. Okay. Oops. Something fell down there. Alright, and then there's basically the exact same thing, but for the elements. So we'll do that. This needs to be a map element. Map element. I think that's all that needs to change. Oh no, this needs to change. This needs to be element layer. So it's basically it's saying if this is the chunk where the hover element is, then render it using these special settings. But if it's not, then just set that to null. So if this is null, then that chunk is just going to not even care about whether there's a hover element or not. It's just going to ignore it. And I think that's all for that. Now we're going to have to add in the add and remove chunk methods in the map, so we can add or remove chunks. So I'm going to have I think I'm going to have a chunk button, a chunk tool to add and remove them. Yeah, so, okay, I'm going to put in I'm not going to worry about the file for now. I'll probably do that tomorrow. I just want to add in the chunk functionality to the map editor today. If I can actually finish it today. I might have to finish in the next live stream. I'll do my best though. But if we go for another hour, then I should be okay. So public void add chunk. Public void remove chunk. So the remove chunk is going to take in the X and Y of the chunk to remove. And the add chunk is going to take this won't take a chunk data. It's going to take in an X and Y as well. Well, I can make one that takes in an X and Y. What is it? So generate constructor using fields like that. Okay, so that's a constructor that it's just basic. We're also going to make it create the tiles array. So size. Okay, and it's going to